Good morning, friends. Hello. How are you, friends? Great to have you here today. Hope you are well. Good morning. Hello, hello. Have a little cup of joy this morning. Hey, Karen. Good morning. Nice to see you this morning. Hey, John. Hope you're doing well. How are you, friends? Hey, let me know how the sound is this morning, if it sounds all right. Hey, Jamie. Hope you're doing all right. I hope you're healing up, honey. I see you getting doctored here and there. I hope things are going okay. Good morning, friends. Sounds great. Oh, very good. Excellent. Everyone's awesome. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. So slowly but surely. Oh, that's good. That's healing in any form. We'll take it, huh? Good morning, friends. Glad you're coming in here this day. Give it a few more seconds and we'll get going. Glad you're coming by today. There is goodness in it on this Holy Wednesday. Good morning. All right, friends, let's get going this morning. It is the 5th day of April on this Wednesday at 11:11, and I am glad you're here. I'm glad you're a part of the journey, and I'm glad that each one of you has made time to be here, whether you're here with us live or whether you'll catch this later, you made this a part of your day. You've made that choice to put this on, to keep going about your day, but to have this moment where you simply not just willing to check in with this community, but willing to spend a little time and hopefully be nourished, hopefully offer something for the care of your own soul, which is really what we're trying to get to in this. Welcome, friends, on this. So today is what is Passover. When the sun goes down this evening, Jewish families around the planet will gather and begin the celebration of from today until next Thursday, which is these days of Passover and the keeping of Passover. And the Passover meal that will happen tonight, the Seder, which is fairly famous in terms of how the unfolding of that. But if you don't know, the Passover Seder as it's celebrated now, it was celebrated differently in Jesus' day. Well, first because they had a temple, and so it was very different. But even before the temple or without the temple, there were times throughout the history because the Passover is designed to celebrate the Jewish being freed from the tyranny of the enslavement of Pharaoh, of the Egyptians. And so it is, in the great Charlton Heston movie form of the Passover of the angel of death from the families that were present, and their exodus into the desert and into eventually freedom. So this Passover is a meal of remembrance, and it starts with this in this way, which I think is I think it's one of the most beautiful ways of maybe any ritual I've ever heard of being started. But so the family gathers around the table. They're considered, usually At one point, they would even gather in kind of like traveling clothes or something like that, as if they had to escape quickly, and they would gather for the meal. But the night would begin with the youngest person there, often a child, that was gathered around the table, asking the question, "Why is tonight different from all other nights? Why is tonight different from all other nights?" And it was that was the beginning of the grand telling of the story. But it's not just the telling of the story. It's not just, well, let me tell you, youngster, and they would kind of burst out as if it was some sort of musical, but though there is singing and there is wine, it could be a musical, I don't know, but that there's this whole way in which there are these questions that unfold into it. They're about what is eaten and what is served. The fact that for the next few days they will only eat matzah. They will not eat only unleavened bread, because of the fact that, kind of symbolizing this way that they didn't have time to let bread rise, so they needed to eat unleavened bread because they were on the run. In order to be rescued by God, they had to flee the Egyptians and their wrath. And there are these four questions that get asked through this, and they're all about what we're doing, what they're doing right now. But why are we doing it this way? It says, other nights we have nice fluffy bread. Why don't we have nice fluffy bread tonight? Tonight we're only eating matzah. We're eating unleavened bread, and so there's these unfolding of the story and the unfolding of these questions. So it becomes not just a telling of a story, not just like, one time at this place I had this thing happen. It is actually this unfolding of the reenactment of that night, that they eat the things that the ancients would have eaten. They sing songs the ancients would have sung. They dip their bread when they don't normally dip their bread. All of these things that they do, the things that would have been done on that night, as a way of remembering. So, but not just remembering like, oh yeah, we used to do that, so we ought to do that again, but as a way of embodying and making a part of their being this story from slavery to freedom. It's a wonderful, beautiful ritual, and I think it's present in all manner of things. If you worshipped with us on Sunday, we had the opportunity to process into our sanctuary. We gathered in the narthex, and we had a kind of little greeting and meeting there, and we began our worship, and we began by singing "All Glory, Laud, and Honor," the great Palm Sunday hymn, and we processed in. We walked in, and we did a lap around the sanctuary, and then took our seats, and we moved into worship. Well, why did we do that? Because there's a way in which we reenacted the truth of Jesus's encounter and entry into Jerusalem, is that we might come into our sanctuary through this procession, in the way that Jesus came into Jerusalem in procession. Now, I know we're not in Jerusalem, and the people who are going to celebrate Passover tonight that are in Poughkeepsie or are up the street at the here at the temple, they know they're not in Jerusalem. They know they're not in ancient Egypt. That we know that we're not in these places. We know that we are in these other times. But, and here's the power of this. When we step into the reenacting of them in our worship, when we step into the reenacting of them in our ritual, when we step into the reenacting of them, we not only remember them, we not only tell the story of them, but we embody the story. That we take steps, we alternate feet, just as those who followed Jesus into Jerusalem walked in alternated feet. We waved palm branches, just as those who walked in waved palm branches. Now, does it feel kind of weird and kind of hollow? Possibly. But what I'll tell you is that that when we encounter these things, they're the way of us encountering the way we actually encounter all the great truths of our lives. The things that are really true, the things that are really true, really real, the logos of life is only encountered by our participation in it. And in our rituals and in our thing, we do this purposefully because it reminds us that we have to participate in life. We have to embody life as a way of embodying the very divine that comes into us and through us. The beginning of the Gospel of John, in the first few verses, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory as if only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Friends, we don't know what it is to be, you don't know what it is to be a mom until you're kind of a mom. You know what it is to be a spouse, or to have a partner and to be kind of linked to that person until you have a spouse. You don't know what it is to have maybe have suffered a great grief, to have lost your parents, until you've actually stepped into that. The things of our life are so real and so big that actually we don't know what it is to be a grandparent until we step into that space and that being. We don't know what these things are. We can conceptually do them, and we can conceptually tell ourselves a story about how we're going to be as we do them. But when we encounter them, when we actually live them out, the things that are so true have to be acted out in our life. They're acted out. The things that are so true are acted out because we can't talk about them. And that when we talk about them, the best we can do is we get them wrong. That the power of these rituals, the power of what will happen in Passover for our Jewish brothers and sisters tonight, is that they will tell a story and place themselves in that story. And they will be remembered that the great and grandest and truest of things in their life are the things that they will walk out. Why is this night different than all other nights? Because it is the night that they do set off for the promised land. Just as those set off from the promised land, 3,600 years ago-ish, 3,400 years ago-ish. Nobody really knows quite when that happened. Somewhere in that neck of the woods. I want you to consider this, that the things what you're doing with your days, and what you're embodying in your days, and what you are relinking yourself to in your remembrance. Not in the sense of mind, not in the sense of like, oh, I've got to pick up milk on the way home, but in the sense of that you are reconnecting yourself to. Because whether we felt it or not, whether we knew it or not, whether we were conscious of it or not, when we sang our little hymn and processed around our little sanctuary on Sunday, we participated in something great and grand, and an arrival that was so much bigger than us, and a truth that is so much bigger than us, that the arrival of divinity into the center of our being, that is coming and that is inevitable, and that in it, that it will reclaim all of the brokenness of the world, all of the struggles of our being, all of the places that we fall down and we can't get up, all of that we get to participate in. We get to participate in being in all the connections of our lives, in the families in which we gather, in the churches in which we gather, in the societies and the towns in which we gather, with the communities with which we gather. It's one of the greatest punches in the nose that COVID land left us, was this notion that our greatest self is somehow preserved when we are separate, or the best thing we can do to preserve ourselves is to be separate. It's quite the opposite, friends. the greatest becoming of ourselves, the greatest being of who God is calling us to be, and just the joy and the promise of our being is in the continuous journey of what makes tonight different than all other nights. The continuous journey of participating in the life in which we are given, and that participation in it, that embodying of our being, links us not just to the people in our lives now, but to all the people that have come before. That truly these are eternal things that we do. Now you might feel them, you might not, but it's not about what we feel. It's not about whether or not every day is cookies and rainbows. It's not that sometimes we'll have real times of struggle. Sometimes we'll have real times of pain. Sometimes our bodies hurt, our noses itch. I mean, there's all manner of things in this. But how is it that we might remember and remember and remember again that tonight is different than all other nights for our Jewish brothers and sisters, and that for us the Word became flesh and has dwelt among us, and that all of that brings us to truths that that when we say them out loud, they sound hollow. That when we try to feel them, or we try to articulate the emotions around them, they become weak. When we step into and live out and embody the beauties and the wonder and the majesty of this incredible life, these incredible lives that have gone before us, and to participate in the story and the pattern of what is. When we say the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, that's not just a thing that happened one day. It's a thing that's happening today, right here, right now. It's a thing that is a part of our relationships with the people that we love. It's a part of our relationships with the people that we hate. It's a part of the grand tapestry of being. That the divine is coming into this world and being with us and surrounding us and calling us forward, and dwelt in not just Jesus' flesh 2,000 years ago, or Jesus' flesh when he returns, but in our flesh, right here, right now, when we participate in this grand pattern, when we give ourselves over to the beautiful loving of our days. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today, is that that you'll step into these the logos of your life and the beauty of your days. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.